Hello, everyone. Good morning. How are you doing today? It is day 4. Can you believe that? And the celebration continues. My Mental Health Matters Facebook group, the group where we are all about increasing mental health awareness and taking away the stigma associated with mental illnesses and mental health. Yes, we're 6 months and we are celebrating it again in no other way than adding and increasing mental health awareness. And today, day 4, I have with me an expert on trauma and is no other person than Garrett Evans. Welcome to the platform, Garrett.
Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to speaking with you.
Great. So we're talking about trauma today. And let me tell you a little bit about Garrett. Garrett is a veteran himself. He has served in the British Army for 20 years, and he's a CEO right now of Remaster Your Mind, a practice where he works with trauma victims, one on one, trauma victims from different sources, which he's going to tell us more about. So, and he served in Iraq and Afghanistan. People who actually dedicate their life to protect and serve their country. I respect them a lot. And so, thank you for your service, Garrett. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so let's just get right into it today. I know we are waiting to learn from you and talking about trauma. Even
hmm
saying the word trauma hurts me. But a lot of us don't understand what it means. We don't know how to sometimes we don't even know if we've been traumatized. So I
hmm
think a good place to start this interview is to ask you, Garrett, what is trauma?
Oh, okay. So, all trauma is a response to an overwhelming event. It's where an individual is unable to cope with whatever it is that they've been succumbed to. Now, if we think about it in terms of as an individual, there's two types of trauma of what we're really looking at. There's a physical trauma and there's an emotional trauma. A
Okay.
physical trauma is going to be more if you get into a car crash and you're rushed to hospital because you've had a blunt impact or there's blunt trauma to the head. Therefore, they will deal with that traumatic trauma, physical trauma. Now, the other hand, there's emotional trauma. When we're talking about the event that they're unable to work with, there's two types of emotional trauma. There's acute trauma and there's longevity trauma. Now, the acute trauma is, let's just say, a lady goes into labor. Now, that could be very traumatic for that individual. However, shortly after the pregnancy's done, she's gone back to her normal mindset. And in fact, she would like another baby in some circumstances. When we go to the prolonged trauma, the PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, that's a lot longer. That's long term. So, most of the time, PTSD comes from childhood. However, if we look at an example of a soldier going into a battle, now he's able to cope with that battle absolutely fine. He may finish the day or the week or however long it is with a normal mindset. But prolonged after that is when flashbacks start happening, depression, sadness. So that's what trauma actually is, just the breakdown of the two, physical and emotional, then breaking down emotional into acute and long-term longevity.
Right. So I was going to ask you the types of trauma. You already answered that, but so tell me, you already talked about a woman. You already talked about a soldier. Or what? Tell us the group of people that are more at risk of experiencing trauma.
Well, to be honest with you, the longer you live, the more chance of you coming face to face with trauma. But the people that's at high risk are generally the high risk jobs, such as your soldiers, your first responders, police, firemen. But generally, what a lot of trauma comes from home. Now, this can be from the wife or the husband suffering or surviving domestic abuse. Now, the longer a person is succumbed to being physically or verbally abused from their partner, the more chance of them suffering from the longevity trauma. Um, This doesn't go away from children either. So children can be physically abused, verbally abused, and everybody that's succumb to sexual abuse is most probably going to be traumatized from the events, especially the younger they are, because they're not understanding what's going on. They don't know, they do know right from wrong, but they don't understand it if somebody's telling them that what people are doing to them is right, because they could be easily influenced and manipulated.
Yeah. So we have, I just thought you were going to say women and children and soldiers, but so that means anybody, men, women, anybody is actually at risk of experiencing trauma. So
Absolutely.
talking about that, now, what are the impacts of trauma in individuals' lives?
Now, every person will act differently. There's no solid one to say, right, it must be this way. So when we're looking at the impacts of trauma, that can be to have flashbacks. So, for example, for me, I had many flashbacks from being in Iraq. Just listening to the indicator on my car was the same as the hazards on the vehicle that we were in when I was back over in Iraq. And I had flashbacks to visually seeing everything that's going on and reliving that just because of the clicking of the indicator on. Now, there can also be sadness, severe sadness and low mood, where you don't want to leave the house, where you sat there and you're a different person to who you once were. So you may be people saying, how would you like to come out and have a couple of drinks with us? And you're always turning everyone down. There's anxiety when you are very nervous to do something as simple as going for a walk in the woods or going to the shops. The anxieties are fearful. It's extremely terrible. There's depression. Now, one thing I want to just stress that that depression and anxiety are not the same thing.
Mm-mm.
Depression is when everything around you is no more. Everything is there, but you just don't want to live. When it can come to suicidal ideation or suicidal thoughts. Now, the way to distinguish between depression and anxiety, if you can imagine being in your bedroom or wherever you're sleeping and lying there and someone's knocking on the front door. The difference between anxiety and depression is anxiety is you're fearful who's at the door. You don't want to go all the way to the front door and open it because you're fearful. Depression is that you don't want to answer the door because you don't want to see anybody. Okay. So there's also insomnia. Insomnia is just where you cannot sleep. Doesn't matter how long you lie in that bed, you're just staring at those four walls, or you're staring at the ceiling or whatever's above you. It's just long termed. And nothing can stop you. Your mind's racing and it's just very long. It's just very prolonged. And it doesn't matter what anybody says, you just cannot sleep because your just mind's so racing so much.
Okay. So you talked about, I want you to talk a little bit about self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And in the case of women who had been abused, or maybe children who went through traumatic, who grew up in a traumatic environment, or mm-hmm. who had been abused, how does this affect our thought process, and how does it affect particularly those involved in domestic violence? How does it affect the way they see themselves?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out that nearly every case I've ever worked with domestic abuse, the victims will always blame themselves every single time. I'm not saying that they're always going to do it, but every single person I've came across, they blame themselves. So they're going to get themselves into the mindset of whatever they do, they need to protect themselves because they're at fault. They're going to become hypervigilant. Hypervigilance is where you're anticipating the attacker to do something. But the problem with being hypervigilant is there's a chemical released in the brain called cortisol. And the more cortisol you have in the brain, the prolonged that time that chemical is in the brain, the chance of you tiring out, fatiguing, and also gaining weight. And unfortunately, the longer people gain weight, in domestic abusive relationships, the more weight you gain, the more the abuser blames you. Therefore, you feel to blame. It's a negative spiral. So you find lots of people gaining weight, and the abuser abusing them more and blaming them because of the hypervigilance of the survivor has. They gain weight and they're just pushed into a corner. When we're talking about self-esteem, it's you're in control. You're no longer in control. Your abuser has all the control. To them, it's a game, but to the victim, it's a lifestyle. You'll find that when we're talking about something called gaslighting is when an individual will play games, will literally lie to them and convince the victim that they're going crazy. They would say something and then hide the evidence and say that the other person's going crazy. And it's very long term. It's very, very subtle things. And this can happen over a period of weeks, days, even months or years. Now, they could also have something called love bombing. Love bombing is when a abuser will come to them face to face and overwhelm them with gifts. They will make their life perfect. They will go out their way to take them on holiday. They will buy the most expensive bouquet of flowers. They will do anything and everything they can and just overwhelm the person. This usually happens at the start of relationships where they're believing that they're dating Mr. Perfect. Mm. The longer they're spending this time with Mr. Perfect, the more trust they have. Mm-hmm. And that's when the claws come in. Once the victim is completely over, is madly in love with this perceived persona of the person, that's when the mind games come in. That's where the individual is going to be starts abusing the victim. Again, it's all mind games. It will be say something along the lines of, "I gave you everything, and this is how you treat me." Yeah. So then it's all about blame. This is where the victim will be focused on they're to blame because they have been given everything and they owe the abuser something. And this is nasty. This could easily get trapped into doing things that the person doesn't want to do. This can go into trafficking. This can go into having sex with other people. This can go into drugs, muling, taking heroin. And this is where people can get pimped out.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, it's really a big deal. But talking about that, we're talking about this domestic abuse. I want to ask 2 questions. Do you only see women coming for help, or do you, in your practice, or do men also get abused? Does this happen? And another side to this is it true that those who abuse other people, it's because they've been abused as well, and they do not know any other way of relating with people other than that? So that, and do you also see men coming out for treatment for abuse?
Okay, you asked me about 3 questions there, so I'll take it one at a time. So the first question you was asking me, do I see the women come into my practice? Yes, they do come to my practice, but they usually have to test the water first. Usually they come onto my website and see what I've got to offer. And then after a while, they will then come to me. Do men get abused? Absolutely. The problem is the stigma. So many men out there do not believe that they have the persona that they must be strong. And it's scary to come forth and say anything. Also, what's scary for them is they don't want to get their partner into trouble. And that goes across the board. Because they love them, they believe that they can just stick it out. The problem with the stigma is people will ridicule you if you come out and say, "I'm being abused by my partner." And you find that very, very small amount of men will come forward. A larger amount of women will come forward. But when we're looking at the differentials between the men and the women, there's maybe 1 to 20 men that will come forward about domestic violence, where 20 out of 1 women will come forward. But the odds of 1 of every 100 will come forward. If you think of it, those logic, 1 female will come forward out of every 100, and out of 20 women, 1 man will come forward.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the stigma is there. They don't want to come forward because it's unmanly, it's unethical in their eyes, and they don't want to get the partner in trouble. And it's very difficult to see, especially when you can see what's going on. People want to help, but other people, the victims, don't want to seek help until it's too late. Now, you asked me the other question. Can you give me a reminder what that one was?
The one about men, you answered that. If men also come out to get that, I think you answered both questions. I thought you did, but just building up on what you just said, that 1 out of 100 women will come out, and the ratio of men to women is
1 to 20.
ratio of men to women is 1 to 20.
Yeah.
So 20 out of 20 women will come out before you see 1 man come out because of stigma. That means so many people not seeking treatment or not speaking up for themselves and enduring this traumatic event happening to them for such a long time.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, or if there's anybody here experiencing it in any kind of abusive relationship, or that's been experiencing trauma, or maybe even something that happened to them when they were young and they're watching us now, what would you tell them? What would you tell this 99 women that are not coming out and the 19 men that are not coming out?
Okay, I would say take a step back. Look at everything that's going on. It's pointless me saying, oh, you need to come out and come forward, because that's just what everyone should be expected to do. But what I'm going to say is, imagine if you had a kid, or if you do have a child, what is that child seeing? What is that child witnessing? Now, it's worse for a child to be locked up into a room while the abuse happens away from them. I'm not saying that that any child should witness the abuse, but a child's imagination is much, much worse. So if you look at the child in their bedroom and they can hear mummy and daddy arguing, and let's just say daddy puts a cup down onto the table quite strong and it makes a very loud clatter. In the child's head, the child is hearing thunder. That thunder is dad or mum striking their partner as hard as they possibly can. And in their head, there's blood, there's guts, there's everything imaginable. Anything you can imagine, a child will imagine it as it is. Now, that child, although you're trying to hide it away, although your best interest at the moment is that child, if that's all you're trying to protect is that kid, and this kid is hearing everything, it's going to grow up having one of two mindsets. Number one, it's okay to hit women as long as it's indoors. Or number two, don't ever hit anyone because it's wrong. Now, the chances of either will be completely dependent on what the child witnesses, on how he's brought up, who has the most influence, how is he reacting and acting. Now, you asked me, what should I recommend a person to do if they are succumbed to domestic violence? Absolutely report it. Everyone that's listening to this, if you believe that your partner truly loves you and his only way to show you that he loves you is by hurting you, that's not love. That isn't love. What I am saying is, if you are in an abusive relationship, think about what it's doing to you. Think about what's happening and how it's affecting your family, your friends. What are they thinking about it? What are you hiding from? What are you hiding the evidence from? If you get punched, do you wear a pair of sunglasses?
Mm-hmm.
The problem we've got is lack of accountability. The more control somebody has, and the more abusive they are, the less accountable they are becoming unless you do something about it. Now, even seeing something and ignoring it is, in my view, a crime. domestic abuse, domestic violence shouldn't be overlooked. And if for the children that's listening, if you are seeing mummy or daddy getting hit, then you have to report it to the school teacher to bring it up, because it's not going to be long until perhaps they are being succumbed to the same violence or abuse.
Yeah. So I think I remembered the question the third question I asked you, that is
right.
it true that those who grow up to become abusive were also abused as a child?
Now, I would say no. This is because everybody is different. You're going to have very different personas. You're going to have very different life experiences. Now, lots of people that do abuse are just retaliating from when they were abused. However, there are lots of people that have an opportunity, that are rotten to the core. Some people that when they grow up, they've been given love all over their life, and they've given everything they want, but they've been missing something, and that's the control element. Now, some people will grow into adulthood, and they'll go into a relationship, and they'll spend many, many years being absolutely fine, and then something traumatic has happened, and they have a different mindset to what happened before. So although they're appearing Mr. Perfect all the way through, and it's genuine, it's not until something happens that triggers their mindset in order them to treat them differently. For example, if a male and female were in a relationship and the female cheats on the male, that relationship's been absolutely fine all the way through. However, then there's a lack of trust between the two consenting adults. Mm-hmm. But since they've decided to keep it going, he may be very angry at her. Now, he might have a very normal childhood and upbringing, but now looking at him as an adult, he's very angry and bitter towards the fact that his partner has cheated on him. And that can be the root cause of the violence to come.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So let's talk a little bit more about those who are those in the military, and the frontliners, and the even healthcare workers, like that had to deal with stuff with the recent pandemic. A lot of healthcare workers had to witness so many things. So let's talk about that. Professional, people that experience or witness violent things or unpleasant things that could be traumatic to them. How much of that do you see, and how would we know, or how do they know when to seek help?
What I would do is speak to your loved ones. Now, they're going to see a change in personality. I'm going to speak firstly about soldiers, and then we can come on to first responders, your ambulance, etc. Yeah. When it comes to soldiers, when the soldier goes away on tour, when he goes to Afghan, Iraq, or wherever it's going to be, he's going to be away from the family for 6 months. In the British Army, 12 months in the American, and all over the world is different times, periods. But regardless of the time away, it's what happens whilst they're away. When you have two consenting adults cohabiting together perfectly well, you're having two people that's living together that knows each other. And let's just say these parents have 2 children. When the husband goes away to a foreign country, doesn't matter where it is, it's away, the woman will become more dependent. The woman, I would say hypothetically and stereotypically, a woman's going to stay at home and the male goes on tour. But the women will be now in sole control of the children. She's going to be a different person to the time when the husband went away. So she's going to have her own expectations. She's going to have her own routine, methods, and she's also going to be extremely worried because she doesn't know what husband is doing out there. And this is causing trauma in itself. And this can be a very prolonged trauma. But the longer you're away is the more she's going to change. She may have contact with the husband every week, fortnight, perhaps even every day, but it's still only face-to-face. It's not face-to-face, it's online. But she's dealing with the children's school. She's dealing with food every day. She's dealing with the family and friends. She's trying to maintain a normal life with the worries and anxieties of what's going on for the husband. Now, 6 months, let's just say a stereotypical 6-month deployment in the United Kingdom. And 6 months being by yourself, you are going to be a different person. Now, if we flip that over to the soldier is going to move away from his family. If you imagine prior to them going away, it's like a train tracks. It's very parallel. So those train tracks are going all the way together and they're perfectly well. Now, the soldier now disappears, goes to Afghan or Iraq or the beat-up training before then, and he does the aggression training with bayonet training, and he's moved away. He's now gone into a very kinetic or hostile environment, and he's looking left and right with his brethren to fight, to push forward, to fight the enemy. Now, that's going to change your mindset right from the start. You have to have a very different mindset to go to war. The longer you are over there, the more battles that you get in, the more your conscious and subconscious is going to separate from one another. So we'll get back onto that shortly. But when we're looking at time in Afghan, time in Iraq, or any serving country, you're going to be a prolonged time in a very hostile environment. The longer you're there, the more of a different mindset you're going to have. You're going to have to react a lot quicker than you were when you're at home. If somebody says jump, you don't ask how high, you jump and hope it's high enough. This instinctive battle, this pushing forward, this take no prisoners, not mentality. No, I'm not literally saying to take no prisoners, but the mentality of I need to fight to protect myself, my comrades, my country, my queen, my whoever, whenever. When that soldier comes back home, it may be for R&R for 2 weeks or to finish the tour and go back to the wife. Those parallel tracks that we spoke about are no longer parallel because it's two very different people trying to come back into the same relationship. The problem you've got is that the two people believe that they're coming back into the same relationship. And this can be confusing because both of them will say to each other, you've changed. And each person will say, I haven't changed. It's you that's changed. So now we're trying to have children. The younger they are, the less they understand. If a child, the father may turn to alcohol just to forget what's happened in Afghan, to forget the problems that's going on at home because his wife's acting very differently and oddly. And the wife has become isolated. She doesn't want to be around him because he got in a pub fight the other day and she doesn't know how to control him anymore because he's just so violent. Although to him, he's not being violent. He's just acting normally. He's acting how he has been in the last 6 months. So here we are with two very different people with two very different mindsets. From when the tracks, the parallel tracks before they left were very comfortable to literally clashing heads when they both come back. And this is where domestic abuse can come in because of the lack of understanding of what the other one is, because of the lack of communication between the two of them, because of this standoff difference, because of the expectations where the man is expecting the woman to carry on how it was and vice versa. It can be very easy for them just to get very frustrated and angry at one another. And this can cause aggression. And it can be the fact that the male can be very aware of how he has changed. Therefore, it becomes very placid. And this might be extremely frustrating for the wife. Now, she may become the abuser, if this makes sense. Now, what we're going to be talking about is the other side. What we're going to be talking about is the soldiers. Not the soldiers. We're going to be talking about the police. We're going to be talking about the fire brigade and the people that see these day-to-day occurrences, then going back to the family. If we look at a normal school teacher will have a round of kids and they will say, "Oh, how's your day been?" when he talks to the partner. She'll say, "Oh, I've had a rough day. Do you know what? Those bloody kids are really getting on my nerves. All they're doing is arguing with one another, and there's no controlling them. They're so unruly." Now, the partner who has just saved 3 children from a fire because he's a fireman comes home and listens to what the wife has got to say. Now, he is not wanting to upset her by saying, do you know what, I saved 3 children, but dad died of smoke inhalation, or the dog burnt to death, and what I saw was extremely traumatic. He might want to hide these things from her. Again, stereotypical. It's both men and women on the front line. I would just say that the man is on the emergency services. So the female is saying, oh, I've had a terrible day, but it ended not too bad because we managed to complete a topic and I'm really liking one of the children. And the male is going to be feeling very isolated. He's not wanting to share what's going on for them. And again, it's very easy to turn to alcohol. Turning to alcohol is an escapism. It's a temporary solution, but can have very detrimental effect. When I spoke about the soldier earlier on, about the separation from the conscious and subconscious mind, if you think about it at a scale of 1 to 10, if you get into a traumatic event, let's just say a fireman, a policeman, doesn't matter. If you get into a very traumatic event, you become hyper aware. You become focused on everything that's going on. Now, when you step away from that environment, when you come back to your study, when you come back to your living room, sit down and read a book, your subconscious is still focused on the threat. It still believes that there's a perceived threat out there. Your conscious mind has gone from 1 to 10 during the traumatic event, and now we've stepped away from it. The conscious mind goes from 10 back down to maybe 3, 4. The adrenaline's still there. He was very scared. However, he's able to walk away from it. But the subconscious does not understand logic. The subconscious is going to be very, very aware, very scared, very fearful because its emotions are still there. Now, because of the separation between the two, it's going to take longer for the subconscious to come from 10 back down to 2 or 3. This can take periods of days, weeks, months. Now, this can be cause panic attacks. Now, these panic attacks could very well be the individual sat down reading a book and they become extremely fearful that whoever's knocking on the door is going to be, I don't know, a murderer. Their subconscious has no logic. It's just, who's that person there? Who is at the other end of the door and what do they want? And you can literally have a panic attack saying, oh, I don't want to see that person. I don't know who it is, even if it's just the mother-in-law, even if it's just your stepbrother. Or it can be even a phone call. You get extremely panic attacks from a phone call, especially from a private number. You don't know who it is, and you become overwhelmed simply because it's an unknown number. The conscious mind is thinking, this makes 0 sense to me.
Makes sense.
But subconscious is saying, no, threat here. There's a panic. We should panic right now. Let's go and panic together. Come on. So now the conscious is brought back to being panicked because the subconscious is perceiving the threat, which is overwhelming, which brings us back to the original of what is trauma. It's an overwhelming event where an individual is unable to cope.
So do we have treatment for, because what you've described is really, they're not pleasant experiences going through it, and even for people living around them. And so talking about abuse or traumatic experiences as a child, growing up, as a frontliner, as a soldier, the experience is not good. So what treatments are available for people to know that you have this and you should, try this out to help you? Can you tell us the available treatments?
Yeah, first of all, I would say seek medical attention, medical help. Talk to your doctors because they are subject matter experts. However, there are lots of other things. For example, I've personally, I have never been a fan of medication. I think if I'm taking medication, then it's going to cause an imbalance in my brain because the side effects are crazy. Now, if anybody is on medication, don't stop medication just because I've said that, because there's going to be consequences. I'm just saying that I'm not a fan of them. Okay. Now, There is something called EMDR, which is fantastic. I'm not going to try and pronounce what EMDR is because it's a very technical word and I'd have to have it in front of me to try and read it off. There's talking therapy. Talk to your friends. That's the first step. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Talk to anyone that you can trust. Go face to face with them and tell them what's going on. Just have a word with them, even if it's over a cup of tea or if it's going down and having a drink. There's nothing wrong with moderate amount of alcohol as long as you're in the right age. Just speaking to them, get it off your chest. However, if it's still there, still coming forward. So I have been working one-on-one with clients for a few years now. Talking therapy is extremely good. So if you was to talk with me, it would be different to talking with your friends because I've got lots of tools in my box, you could say, where I'm able to move around the trauma. But what I do specialize in is hypnotherapy. And what hypnotherapy is, it's having a conversation with the subconscious. We spoke earlier on that the subconscious can almost disengage from the conscious mind. Your subconscious controls your emotions. Your conscious mind controls your movements. So what I do is I regress an individual to 3 or 4 times in their life where they are stressful or whatever problem that they're coming to me with. And during this time, I will have this conversation with them and understand why they're acting and reacting. Even something simple as becoming really anxious or worried. If you're having panic attacks, many people that I have nearly always comes down to childhood, even soldiers. You find that a traumatic event in Afghanistan or in Iraq or wherever it's going to be, these soldiers come from not very well upbringing. Now, the demographic of soldiers are from low households. Now, when they go to Afghan, when they go to Iraq, this triggers the PTSD. The PTSD has been underlining for a while, but they're coping and managing it very well for some people. But that triggers what causes the PTSD. And that might be maybe 5 or 6 years down the line. It doesn't have to happen straight away. So what I do is I work with an individual. I do 2 packages. And both of them are regression when I take the person back to different events and almost jigsaw puzzle them together to say, this is why you're acting and reacting. And it's so much of a light bulb moment for every single client that I've had. And the transformation is phenomenal.
Wow, great. So you recommend anyone that's experienced something traumatic before or going through any stress as a result of what happened to them, or maybe you can't even think of a traumatic event in your life. You just know that people around you're angry all the time, you're irritable all the time. You don't seem to get along with people all the time. Maybe your partner is complaining about your behavior. Maybe people say that you're being aggressive. Well, you might not remember something that happened or why or know why you are that way. But from what Garrett shared with us, it might just be something in your subconscious from the past that you are not fully in tune with. So please try to, like he said, talk to somebody about it. Just discuss it with someone instead of shutting people out and feeling that you're fine. Just talk about it. Ask people more questions about your behavior. And if you think that you would need some help or you want to really be sure that everything is okay, then reach out to someone like Garrett. Reach out to a therapist or even talk to your doctor, like he said, and then be able to go forward so you get the liberation. Because Garrett, there's so many women in abusive relationships. And I like to also bring up that it's not only women who are being abused. There's so many men who are being abused. But the worst part for them is that because of the societal expectation and because of the stigma that comes with not just you being abused, but you as a man being abused, the shame that comes with it. Men are not seeking help, and it is not beneficial to anyone. So men, women, children, teenagers, anybody, if you are in an abusive relationship, please speak up. Please talk to someone about it. Stop suffering in silence. The aftermath, the long-term effect is not never good. So please speak with somebody. And Garrett, before we go, I want you to tell us what your theory is about alcohol and PTSD. If you just say that, let us know what you think about that, because the comorbidity of substance misuse or alcoholism is very high with people who had gone through who experienced trauma. So if you can tell us that, it will be good, and then we'll round up.
Absolutely. But before I go on to that, I just want to say the only way for you to get a better mindset is to get away from the violence. So if you are in an abusive relationship, before you seek counseling, you need to step away from the abuse. You go to see a counselor at any time you want. That's great. But what I'm saying is you need to get away from the abuse in order to get a better mindset. Now, what I'd like to do is give you an analogy, really, about a cut leg in relation to trauma. Now, if you think about a cut leg, you don't focus on the bleeding, because if you wipe away that bleeding, the blood's still going to come more. If you wipe away that blood, it's just going to come a clean slate, and then shortly that blood's going to come out. What you need to do is focus on the wound. If there's a stick in that wound, or if you're in a relationship and you're being abused, take the stick out. If you're in an abusive relationship, get away from the abuse. Now, that can be done professionally and under control. And again, instead of ignoring ignore the blood until the wound is stitched up, until the wound is cleaned up. Don't just rub it away, because it's just going to come back. You need to put medication onto the cut. Don't blindside it. If you're going to start drinking alcohol, all that's going to do is make you forget about the wound temporarily. Now, yes, it is good to have a drink with a friend in moderation. But what you should not be doing is focusing on alcohol, because alcohol is a depressant. Although you might feel good during taking the alcohol or drinking the alcohol, the aftermath is a toxin. It is toxic. It's going to mess your body up the more drink you drink. It's going to make you think slower. It's going to make you more depressed. It's going to amplify your feelings. It's going to push your friends and family away from you the more you drink. And if we're going back to the analogy of having a cut on the wound, you need to focus on the problem. The problem is the wound. Don't confuse your brain thinking, oh, I need alcohol because this makes everything better. It doesn't make everything better. It just prolongs the incident. It makes you feel temporarily good. So when we get to the other side, when you wake up in the morning, you still have that problem.
Okay. So Garrett, you are such a resource that I think anybody that needs to reach out to someone. Do you tell us about how people can reach you? And I want to know, you also provide virtual services, because it's a global world now. Not everybody is in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So can people? What do you do? How can people reach you?
Okay, so I have a page on Facebook called Remaster Your Mind, and I've got a group on Facebook called Mindsight. Now, if you Google either of them, they'll come up at the top of the searches. Just if you write into any Google engine, Remaster Your Mind, look for the trauma specialist, and you'll come across my website where you can contact me face to face, like we are right now. If you go onto Facebook, or I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, all through. You can find all these devices through my Facebook. Now, I am solely an online company. So I will be having conversations over the platform called Zoom, where it's going to be very, very similar to how you and I are right now. It's very private. I do not share anything with anybody. And so, for example, if I am working with a couple, I will not say anything at all to the one partner of what the other partners told me. I am bound by confidentiality, the code of confidentiality. So I am more than happy to talk with anybody. I will give an hour of my time to anybody that wants to speak about it. I will not twist your arm to work with me. But what I will do is point you in the right direction, give you advice and guidance. And if I do believe that you and I could work together, I will offer you my packages. However, I will not force them down your throat, because you will know when you are ready to move forward. And only you will be ready to move forward. But please seek advice and guidance from me at any time of this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Garrett. I'm so glad you accepted to be here with me, and thank you for sharing so much information with us about trauma. If you're watching us, once we're done now, I'll put up Garrett's information, how you can reach him, just to make it easy. I'm just going to put the link there, click it. But if for any reason you're not able to reach Garrett, let me know. I will hunt him down for you and make sure that he's able to attend to you. But thank you so much, Garrett. I appreciate this, and I hope when I come calling again, you will be here to answer us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. And by the way, Garrett is a member of my Mental Health Matters group. Okay. So if you are not in the group yet, you are missing a lot, because any group that has someone like Garrett in it, you know that that's not just an ordinary group, right? So
that's very kind of you.
Mental Health Matters group, if you haven't. Garrett, tell them they need to join.
Absolutely. You absolutely need to join. It's a fantastic group that she's got here. And it's very kind for her to say those things about me, but everything that's on this group is mind-blowing. It really, really is.
Thank you. All right, guys, I'll be back in the evening, and we're talking about divorce this evening and how to help yourself out of that. So stay tuned. I will see you soon today. Thank you all for joining. I love you. Bye-bye.